a Canadian radio sanctuary podcast.
Tonight, the new LP from Ian Thomas. The new album is called Glider, and musically it's a little different, a little more mature than previous Ian Thomas works, but principally, first and foremost, it's a concept album. A man who appears to be totally pissed off at the stupidity, short-sightedness, and structures we human beings of the mid-20th century have created for ourselves. We are the stupid people dancing, a quote from one of the tunes. And with illustrations of our folly along the way and a horror that can easily be foreseen in the future. With all that lyrical weight, there still is a touch of love and tenderness and a few thinly disguised lectures on fixing ourselves before it's too late. There's a hint in here, more than a hint, that the elite are going to fly away to other planets and leave the rest of us here to rot in our own mire.
Not particularly an original concept. Dr. Strangelove was the same premise. They're the elitist few, who are that insane German general played by Peter Sellers, and George C. Scott, and the president, and all the sort of hierarchy of the political or the power structure. They were going to be the people that were going to go underneath the surface of the earth and supposedly propagate the species. Well, that would have been a sorry state for man if that was the only thing that was going to be left.
Yeah.
And they were going to be the people to carry on.
And in the straight version of that film, Failsafe, things weren't much better, even though it was done with more respectable type of characters.
I think basically what it deals with is kind of an acceptance of fact. I don't know if you're familiar with the philosopher Will Durant, but his whole premise is that history constantly repeats itself because we are a cyclical animal.
And we don't learn from our bleeding mistakes.
Definitely not. Definitely
Day
not.
to day or century to century.
So the premise is, any urbanization, as happened in Greece, as happened in Rome, eventually reaches its demise, and then everybody goes back to a more agricultural type of existence, more primal type of existence. And I'm just more or less saying that we will go much the same way.
The tunes on side one are Pilot, I Still Want to Hold You, Small Talk, and High and Mighty. And High and Mighty would be the theme piece for the entire piece, I would suggest.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the one where everybody leaves for the rest of us to waste away. Musically, the album is somewhat different. Pilot opens with a kind of disco beat, as does the other side, in fact. And on Pilot, there's a curious sound to your voice on this, on the verse only. In fact, your voice changes right through the album. There are different effects on your voice.
Yeah, I just wanted to get into doing a lot more things vocally from the standpoint of really enhancing the lyric of the tune a little more, rather than just singing straight. I've gotten to the point now where I like getting into a little bit of shtick, and I felt loose enough on this album to do that, so that's why I went nuts.
There's stories to be told of the production of this album, as well as the people on it. We'll get to those later. The album looks, it looks like it has a piece of a DC-3 wing on the cover.
Yeah, I just thought that had sort of an H.G. Wells touch to it.
Yeah, lots of textures and lots of surfaces to check out.
Lots of rivets.
Are you the same band that you were the last time we talked?
With the one exception that my old bass player has now come back again. Steve Hogg is back with us, back in the fold.
What precipitated that, pray tell?
Well, we had just been so tight for so long that, I guess I sort of always wanted him back, and then when he was available again, we made the move.
And once again, the cover has been done by Hugh Son.
That's right. A very talented young boy.
You recorded this album, Ian, in your home at Dundas. Is it Dundas or Ancaster?
No, neither. It's Winona, Ontario.
Winona. In doing so at your home, you used a mobile recording truck, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you work in the truck, or did you work in your basement, or what?
I did all the vocals sort of perched in front of the console.
Right there in the truck?
With headphones right in the truck. It was great. I enjoyed it. I think it's the only way to record an album. I didn't have to get over the car lag of driving an hour to Toronto and then going into a studio and waiting for 2 or 3 hours for my head to clear. You just get up in the morning, or if you had an idea in the middle of the night, out in the truck you go, and you're right in the studio. It was just super.
This is also, by the look of it, a one-man production after you got the beds down. You did the engineering and the production all yourself, more or less.
I did the engineering on this one because I figured it was time to get into that. I was able to get into the album a lot more, as opposed to sitting back and being bored, waiting for a good take. I was constantly into the sounds of things, and I wanted to. I've always wanted to get sounds the way I heard them in my head, so it was a good opportunity for me to do that. And also, from the standpoint of doing it in my home with this truck, just being able on occasion to just send everybody packing when I wanted to work just by myself. It was great.
Let's listen to more of Glider now. From side 2, here's Time is the Keeper. Have you already run into the comment that you're preaching? That you're putting yourself above people, that you're talking down?
I don't think it's preaching so much. Preaching to me involves providing the sort of holy alternative. I'm not providing any holy alternatives. I think in this I'm basically just stating fact. So in that sense, I don't think it's preaching so much.
Now, on side 2, you get to that point by Voices of the Children, which suggests that one way that we might get into each other a little closer and gain some respect for each other and operate on an ethical plane and run our lives in a together way is listen to what kids have to say, because they haven't been screwed up by all the garbage that we have.
It's not so much listening to what they have to say. That's really kind of a metaphorical use of the term Voices of the Children.
Did I miss it then?
No, I don't think so, because the premise is kind of twofold. I think it comes in more from the angle of the basic simple senses are where it's at. Here everybody, all the adult world is striving for the metaphysical and trying to find God, the state of awareness, the whole sort of quest to leave body and just become intellect. To me, that pays no attention to the fact that we are in a body right now. We have these simplistic senses, which are fantastic. Voices of the Children, as a matter of fact, was inspired by an old Star Trek. These aliens that were total energy and intellect, and they wanted to inhabit Spock's and Kirk's body in order to construct androids that they could walk around in. But once inside the bodies, they started experiencing these senses which were just so fantastic to them. The male entity and the female entity could now touch and could experience everything that the simplistic senses had to offer. So that's really where that song comes from.
Side 2 of the new album from Ian Thomas. It's called Glider, which is the name of the ship.
That's right.
That all the elite are going to take off on when this happens. Time is the Keeper, The Beast of Phobia. Nero's Spell, which is again about stupid people dancing.
That's right.
And Voices of the Children, the optimistic piece, or at least the lesson that's between the lines. The Beast of Phobia is within us all. Tell me a little about this creature you've created here.
Well, that quite actually almost is kind of an extension of Voices of the Children, sort of a play on Freud to a certain extent. That probably without psychology we'd all be a lot better off.
Yeah.
And the basic premise is that there was this fictitious land where everybody was happy except for the psychiatrist. He was unhappy because everybody was happy.
He didn't have any business.
So he went down into his cellar and constructed the most hideous beast of phobia, which he sent out into the night. And the next morning everybody woke up with the DTs and he was happy because everybody else was unhappy, and now he could sit back and condescend on an intellectual level.
Are you going to play this concept on the road? Are you going to play it as a concept complete? Are you going to do it as a suite? Are you going to split it?
I think initially we're going to have to split it because we'll be in an opening act situation, so we'll have to give people as well a little bit of what's gone before.
The new Ian Thomas LP, Glider, is on GRT Records and Tapes in the stores now. I'm Larry Wilson. Good night.